Come. All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. And Shalom to the hopeful elect, the Akim and the Aqua scattered around the four corners of the planet Earth. All right, that have returned to the obedience of the scriptures. All right, and this is going to be a continuation of Judges, the first chapter. All right, I got the beloved brother Yasad with me. All right, and we just gonna continue to get into this history in the book of Judges. I believe we made it to verse 18. Last last session. So we just gonna jump in from there and continue on. So Lord's willing, this series continues to be edifying. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start us off unless you had anything.
You good, bro?
Did you say you wanted to read?
Yep, I got it pulled up. This is Judges chapter 1 and verse 18. And it reads, Also Judah took Gaza with the coast thereof, and Ascalon with the coast thereof, and Ekron with the coast thereof.
Yep.
Verse 19.
Yep. Basically, like we went into last class, Judah, all right, also with the help of Simeon, were basically making conquests into that land. All right, and when you read up on the chapter, matter of fact, the first verse, when Jake, gets into the land, they're looking for leadership. I'm gonna read verse 1 again. Judges 1:1, it says, Now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, Who shall go up for us to fight against the Canaanites first, to fight against them? All right, so what we're reading now is a continuation, of that cry out from our people. All right, basically looking for leadership, and we'll see that again during the time of Saul and David. Same thing, Jake looking for leadership, and then as we go on in this chapter, Jake needing a judge to be raised up, which symbolizes leadership, because in these days now, with the elect, all right, the Lord calling the remnant and the elect, it's the same thing happening all over again in the spirit. All right. We've been in the wilderness, right? We've been here in Babylon the Great in different parts of the planet Earth. All right, scattered amongst the heathen, lost in the sauce. But as we read, I believe we read that Isaiah 1:26 last week as well. All right, the Lord said he was going to restore thy judges at first. So right now we're reading about basically, Judah taking that initiative, okay, conquering the heathen, okay. But this is could you read that again, Baba Shah?
Oh yeah, this is Judges chapter 1 and verse 18, and it reads, Also Judah took Gaza with the coast thereof, and Ascalon with the coast thereof, and Ekron with the coast thereof.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 19, and Yahweh Yahushai was with Judah, and he drave out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron.
Yep, and it said the Most High was with Judah. All right, and that continued to be the case when you go into our history, and we were talking about that before the camera cut on. All right, you see that playing out, in the form of David's line. All right, obviously in which Yahweh Shai came out of. All right, but also the other, Judite kings that the Lord had preserved in the land as well. That we had some righteous kings in comparison to, the Northern Kingdom, where they were, going off. All right, could you read that again, Baba Shah?
Yeah, this is Judges chapter 1 and verse 19. And Yahweh Shai was with Judah, and he drave out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron.
Right, they had chariots of iron, showing you that even during that time, okay, there was a certain level of military, proficiency. All right, because we know later on, you would have other kingdoms, other empires that utilized iron, on a major scale. I believe Rome. You know what I'm saying? Um, but we can go deeper into that. But I think the point is made. It ain't about the chariots though. That's the thing. Like I forget what that scripture is. I might have to pull it. All right, where it goes into basically, the Lord. It's not about the number of chariots you got. It's not about the military technology you got. How many troops you got. It ain't about that. At the end of the day, if Yahweh Shem Shai has it ordained for you to get the victory, you're going to get the victory. All right. And if you don't, you're not, so it's really that simple. Let me see if I can find that precept real quick.
And I got something right after you.
Kind of, if you already got yours, you can go ahead and pull it.
Because I was wanting to get to that because basically it also had a quick point. It basically went into how they had took control of it says they drove out the inhabitants of the mountain. And we would always take over, like, they call it the Central Hill Country or Central Highlands, which is places like, we would go more up in a chapter. We was looking at it, Hebron, and, even when in Joshua's conquest, Jericho, and Ai, all these places like that, that was important for us to take over because right here I have it in ChatGPT. It says, let me get the summary of it. It says, in essence, the Central Hill Country was crucial for the Israelites' existence as a people, providing them with a homeland, security, economic sustenance, and a landscape interrelated with their religious and historical identity. Because a lot of spiritual things happen in different of those land masses. That's why they all get named some spiritual name. But also, it said for economic substance. Why? Because the land was real fertile. They was able to have all types of animals over there and have a lot of agriculture. And then it says security because it's up. It's on a mountain. Yep. So you're on a mountain, it's harder to be attacked. It's harder for somebody to come infiltrate you if you're on a mountain. So that's why basically you see that Judah was going straight from places those mountainous regions like Hebron and Jericho, Ai, and all those places like that.
Yep. The high man wins. That's a basic military principle. You want to capture the high ground. All right. And we see that played out now. All right. One of the main reasons Babylon the Great is so powerful is because of its air force, its aerial superiority in comparison to other nations. But really through the spirit, we got the high ground. All right. We got the high ground. And that's why the understanding of the chariots of heaven is so important. You know what I'm saying? The so-called UFOs, which they're not unidentified, they are identified, and they're identified through the Holy Scriptures. I got a precept real quick. This is Psalms chapter 20 and verse 7. It says, I'm starting at verse 6. It says, now I know that the Lord saveth his anointed. He will hear him from his holy heaven with the saving strength of his right hand. All right. And when it says holy heaven right here, all right, you got levels to heaven. Okay, you got the first heaven, all right, which is the firmament, or not the firmament, the immediate, skies, all right, an atmosphere, all right, and through which planes travel, and things of that nature. Then you got the firmament, all right, and then you got the second heaven beyond the firmament, okay, and then you got the third heaven, which is essentially, so you can understand the spirit world, spirit realm. All right. The space between spaces, as I say. You know what I'm saying? But this is the point of verse 7. It says, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of Yahweh Shem Shai, our power. All right. And that links up with what we're going into now in Judges. It was never about the chariots. It was never about the physical, carnal, manpower. It was always about the name of Yahweh Shem Shai and his reputation. When the Lord delivered us out of Egypt, it was a statement that was made. It was a statement made that this people that the Lord has chosen are unfuckwittable, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Now, I will say, not to overspeak, but there was some conditions on that because as we read, our people, we had an obligation to do our part and expel, the heathen from the land and to not deal with them really. But we didn't hold up our end of the bargain. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and did you have anything?
Yeah, I got a quick one for you.
Kind
That's basically, it's always gonna be conditions to a marriage. Like that's why you have to, even though the marriage is all fucked up in this society, they still have that concept where they're saying to never do his part, we're gonna stay together, I'm gonna stay loyal, boom, 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 all that. That's conditions. So those conditions are broken. You basically breaking that covenant, that marriage. So that's how every father is with us.
Yep.
I got that. I got one for you real quick. It's 2 Maccabees chapter 8. I'm gonna give verse 16 to 18. It says, so Maccabees called the men together unto the number of 6,000 and exhorted them not to be stricken with the terror of the enemies, nor to fear the great multitude of the heathen who came wrongfully against them, but to fight manfully. So we was talking about Judah being the head tribe. So yeah, this is Judah right here, rousing up. Verse 17. And it says, and to set before their eyes the injury that they had unjustly done to the holy place and the cruel handling of the city, whereof they made mockery, and also the taking away of the government of their forefathers. This is what the heathen did to us. So you saying basically like to get that zeal, that fire in you to judge the heathen for what they did to Lord's the holy, it was attacking the temple. It was coming against us heavy. It was all types of wickedness those heathen was doing, the Grecians. But it says 18.
And what was that again? What scripture was that?
2 Maccabees 8:17.
Okay. Let me pull that up. You got it.
Oh yeah, this is verse 18. It says, for they said so Maccabees trust in their weapons and boldness, but our confidence is in the almighty power, Yahweh Bashem Shai, who at best can cast down both them that come against us and also all the world. See, so he had a fear of Yahweh Bashem Shai, not a fear of men. Because right now we're in a time period where Esau's technology is way more advanced than what they shit was.
Yep.
Yep.
That makes me think about what was that Elisha that said there would be more with us than there are with them? Or was that Elijah? I forget. I believe it was Elisha.
I think I was Elisha.
Yeah. We're being forced to get into that mindset now. Like the Lord put us in a situation now where if you do the carnal math, there's no way out. There's no physical way out. The only way out is through the saving power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, which is spiritual. All right. And when we say spiritual, that's not like a mysterious, because people listen to videos and they think we're just crazy guys, you know what I'm saying? Just pulling this shit out of our ass. When we say through the spirit, we're talking about an actual world that you cannot see, but that we know exists, And guess what? This world that we're talking about, you're getting ready to get a taste of it, you people. All right, when the Lord really pulls up, But this is back in Judges chapter 1 in verse 19 again. It says, and the Lord was with Judah, and he drave out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. And they gave Hebron unto Caleb, and Moses said, he expelled thence the 3 sons of Anak. All right. Verse 21, it says, and the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem unto this day.
And ultimately, really wasn't nothing. Now, the fact that men had concubines or had secondary wives, there was no issue with that. But what Jake would do is, Jake will have these heathen come in and they'll start following their customs, following their ways. They dabbling into this idol or that guy. That's why you have situations where I remember even before this in Joshua, when a dude had idols from Babylon, he had it hidden under the tent. Everybody started getting jacked up. Jake was doing that stuff, man. When they was dealing with those heathen women, they was making those marriages with them, and they'll learn of their gods.
Yep.
So that's really, man, it's crazy how the Lord had to set up where this was mentioned, because that's that when you look at it, we didn't do this, and then you read on later on in the chapter, you see all the idolatry that was going on. Well, this is why.
Yep. I'm gonna read this real quick. Verse 20, just to get the full edification on that. Right? It says, I'm in ChatGPT. It says, it pulls Joshua 15 and 13 and 14. It says, and unto Caleb the son of Jephunneh he gave a part among the children of Judah, according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, even the city of Arba, the father of Anak, which is the city Hebron. And Caleb drove thence the 3 sons of Anak Shishai, Ahiman, and Talamai, the children of Anak. All right. So it says this refers back to Numbers 14:24 and Deuteronomy 1 and 36, where Moses promised a special inheritance for his faithful report as a spy. The land Caleb received, Hebron, was highly significant. It was formerly known as Kirjath Abba, named after Arba, a great man among the Anakim, the giants. Okay, and like we were talking about before the camera cut on, this Hebron was where David ended up ruling out of before he ruled out of Jerusalem. You know, so this land held a special, significance, historically. But it also shows you that, because David, like we were going into David and Goliath. All right, our people, man. We're not supposed to be intimidated, especially, and this is the house of David that the Lord is raising up now. All right, the Lord is not giving us the spirit of fear, man. 2 Timothy 1 and 7. We don't give a damn how big a nigga is, how tough he look, how scary he look. All right, if you claim to be in the, in this thing of ours, you don't give a shit about none of that. All right, the Lord is giving us multiple examples in the scriptures that when the Lord is with you, none of that matters, man. It's a light thing. You got something?
Yeah, the word. I got that word expelled.
Mm-hmm.
It's Strong H 3423, and it says Yerash. Yerash, and when you go into it, it says to seize, dispossess, take possession of, inherit, disinherit, occupy, impoverish. It says to take possession of, to devour. You go down here, it says to devour, to cause others to possess or inherit. So to destroy, to bring to ruin. So basically, it's saying that he basically drove their ass out the land.
Yep.
He was like, y'all get the fuck out. But when you read Numbers, like brother had mentioned, at first, you had Israel that was scared. You had the ones that made a bad report. Right. Caleb was ready to go back then. But then now the Lord actually had him expelled on this time.
Okay. Yep. It says, just backing you up. It says it says one of the most strategic and elevated cities in the hill country of Judah. So it was a major checkpoint, if you will. Like you said, it says the phrase confirms that Joshua fulfilled Moses' prophetic word, showing Caleb's reward for faith and endurance. It says, and then I'll read this one more point. It says, but now Caleb at 85 years old personally conquers them.
Oh yeah.
Fulfilling the promise of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, showing the power of faith and obedience over fear.
Oh, that's patience too, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it may have not been as long. Like we lived longer back then, but that's still a long time. Wait,
mm-hmm.
You know, because Joshua was alive for a while too. Mm-hmm. So that whole time period of Joshua, and then after this, now it's Caleb. He finally get control over that land, getting to seize them. But it was supposed to be did it.
Yep.
You read Numbers.
Yep, and that scripture is going to patience, like James 1. All right, like sometimes you'll believe, you'll believe, and you got to keep believing over the dispensation of time. The Lord wants to see if you're gonna keep that belief. It makes me think about Abraham. Abraham gave the Lord Isaac, but then the Lord asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac because the Yahweh Hashem Yahushua wanted to see if he was going to keep that belief, that obedience.
So you might want to get a quick research. You can break it down. Break it down, bro. It's a real quick, but it's basically going to the Abraham. We get it NLT, Romans 4 NLT. I think it was 18.
Mm-hmm.
We get this for you real quick, bro. This is Romans chapter 4 and verse 18 NLT. It reads, even when there was no reason for hope, Abraham kept hoping, believing that he would become the father of many nations. For the Heavenly Father had said to him, that's how many descendants you will have.
Yep. You read that again, Bible Chuck?
Oh, yeah, I got you. Yep. This Romans chapter 4, verse 18 NLT. Even when there was no reason for hope, Abraham kept hoping.
Right. Even when there was no reason to hope, and that was the mindset. That's the mindset our people had, all throughout this history. Like the Lord had to keep reminding Jake, like, yo, I got you. The plagues, and the Lord did so much, but even it shows you, even during this time, there was only a remnant. There was only an elect that was really down for Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and willing to actually be the vessels that carried out the prompt. You know what I'm saying? That carried out the the will of the Lord, because that's what we are. We're just vessels being used to carry out the will of the Lord, you know. But you got to be willing. You got to be a willing sacrifice, you know. Is there anything you want to add on that?
Oh yeah, I'll read the rest. It says, believing that he will become the father of many nations, for the heavenly Father said to him, "That's how many descendants you will have." And the reason why I mentioned that is because he was told to sacrifice after the promises got promised to him.
Right.
So like, Lord, you already know his mind. He's in the flesh. You know his mind probably thinking like, "Hey, I thought the Lord said he's gonna make him be having 20 descendants and all that."
Right.
But then the spirit tapped in. He was like, "You know what? It's reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord can preserve my son somehow, so I'm just gonna do it." Mm-hmm. He showed that act of faith in the Lord. What? Now you see what we see now. Yep. All of our forefathers came, sparked out Abraham, and now we're here right now, man.
Beautiful. Well, that's it, bro. Yeah. Any more on that?
Oh yeah, that's it.
Kind.
I just want to grab that for you.
Yeah, it's the water, bro. This is back in Judges chapter 1, and I'm sorry, verse 20 again. It says, "And they gave Hebron unto Caleb, as Moses said, and he expelled thence the 3 sons of Anak, and the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem unto this day. And the house of Joseph, they also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them." And it's the spirit how, when you read this chapter, the 2 primary tribes that are basically the main subject of the chapter is Judah and Ephraim, Joseph.
Yeah, Ephraim, yeah.
You know, and that's symbolic. I want to get a precept real quick just to back that up, because when you read some of the Psalms echo that as well. You know, because Judah, there's rank amongst the tribes. You know, we went into that a little bit last week, but we'll bring it up again. It's all the spirit. Let me see. Yeah, this is a Psalms chapter 60 and verse 7. And it reads, it says, "Gilead is mine, and Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Judah is my lawgiver." Okay, and I'm gonna get some of these words real quick. All right, let's get this word. Strength of mine head. It says, it's that word strength. Strong's. Man, I gotta fix my blue letter.
You want me to get it?
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
My it's pulling it up in a new tab. I don't know why it's doing that. It says, my eye was all right. Strength of my head. It says place of means of safety, protection, refuge, stronghold. Okay. Strong or fortified place, defense, fortress. All right. So Ephraim is the strength of the Lord's head, and that makes me think about our forefather Joseph. Like, yeah. He's the reason why we were preserved as a nation. His mercy, his forgiveness, you know, due to, you know, us selling, you know, Judah and brothers selling them into slavery. You know, when you read, what is it, Genesis, not 49, but you read about the story of Joseph, you know, getting sold into captivity by his brethren. That's why he received that double portion with Ephraim and Manasseh. You know, but I don't want to, you know.
Oh yeah, basically he was the reason why we got preserved. Like, we got into a fucked up situation, and we had to come all basically that dream got fulfilled. Where it said all of them shall bow down to him. That's what happened.
Yep.
We all had to bow down to Joseph.
Yep. But yeah, I just wanted to pull that in Psalm 60 just to back that up.
Also, I thought about too, like that also reminds me of basically how Moses passed the torch to Joshua, and then Joshua basically leading everybody. So you know what I'm saying? It was basically he was that mediator for a while. After Moses died, Joshua was leading us through that conquest.
Yep.
You got it, bro.
Judah and Ephraim, both of them were head tribes.
Right.
So Ephraim was the head tribe of the northern kingdom.
Right.
And Judah was the head tribe of the southern kingdom.
Right.
All right. But we were still all one people, especially during the split. You know, in Solomon. You know, just to throw it out there as well.
And like we went into at camp last night, the Lord has reunited all 12 tribes under the house of David, under Yahushua. You You know, like we got the prophecy in Ezekiel 37, the sticks being joined together. You know, and that's a powerful thing. And we're gonna see, like, with prophecy taking place and with America being as divided as it is on every level, man versus woman, parents versus kids, male versus female, when the elect of all 12 tribes and the remnant come together, and like we've been preaching, it's people that look totally different but are unified in spirit. You people are going to see the power of the unification. What is that, Psalms 144 or Psalms 140, where it talks about the unity of brethren?
Psalms 130.
130. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
I think I got you.
And it will only happen under how about Shai. You know, this if this was of man, you know, it would come to no avail.
Right.
But since it's of Yahweh Shai, you know, that fist being closed.
133.
You know,
Yeah.
but
Yep. You good, bro? You got it, brother.
Y'all read for Psalms chapter 133 and verse 1. A song of the decrees of David. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Whoo! Can you click on that word? Is that blue letter?
I get it.
Can you click that word, unity?
Gotcha.
All right. Because a lot of brothers are going to be saved because of this. A lot of brothers are going to be delivered because of this. Brothers are going to be, you know, because not every brother is going to be martyred. You know what I'm saying? We got to keep saying that. Some brothers are going to be martyred, and that's an honor, right? And you're going to receive an immense reward in the kingdom for that. But not every brother is going to be a martyr. And a lot of brothers are going to be preserved in ways that you really not even thinking about. Like, case in point, during Jacob's trouble, somebody end up looking out for you that may not even look like a Jake, may look like a heathen. But guess what? We already know that it's all the spirit. It's spiritual, man.
Because that's charity. You know, charity covers the multitude of sins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So he don't even he could look like the damn Elamite.
Be a donkey.
But he could look like a brute beast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look like that he doesn't have the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what this thing is, and this is why it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because brothers are coming from all walks and creeds. They're coming, but they're gathering under the head of Yahweh Shai, being the head of all of us.
Right.
Right. This is what the heathen see and they hate because you know they know whenever we get in our right mind, we are one under our power. Like it says in Judith chapter 5 verse 20,
right,
or 5:19.
Yep.
You know, whenever they see us coming together under Yahweh Shai, you know, it's over for them.
Yep.
Their kingdom is gone.
That's it.
You know,
Yep.
because it's all.
Yeah, you had that word unity.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bible shot.
This Strong's H3162, and it says Yachad. It says union, unitedness. Then you go to that's the noun. Then you go to the adverb. It says together, all together.
All together. And that's something that nobody has anymore. Nobody has that. Families don't have that. Organizations don't have that. But we have that in this truth through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai Shai. And what backs the unification is a standard, is a code of conduct. It's fear, man. The fear of the Lord, like we were going into when we did that lesson yesterday, bro. The fear of the Lord is the glue. You know, the fear of the Lord is what allows brothers to operate the way that they operate, you know, and know and not have to worry about bullshit, man.
Uncle Sean, you pull that Sirach 37:12.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just tying in on the point.
Mm-hmm.
Because the glue is Yahweh Shai.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
just so you get taken.
And with it being Yahweh Shai, every brother knows it. You know, you want to walk according to the spirit, but according to the scriptures, because we all know the main thing.
Yep, I'll read this for you. This is Sirach 37:12. It says, "Be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord,
So this man already knows, the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the proper way to go, and it's all under the banner of Yahweh Hashem Shai. But you guys are like,
it says, "Whose mind is according to thine, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry."
So if you shall slip or fall, he knows how to conduct himself, because y'all are all toiling and studying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's not going to be like, oh well, I got to go to the Book of Jasher to figure out what's going on. We know that's trash,
and that's why we don't waste our time trying to convince niggas that ain't gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? If you are the elect, if you are the remnant, you gonna get it. You gonna believe, and you gonna show the works that go with it.
What the elder priest I probably used to say, if a nigga can't get it, we moving on.
Yep. And that's really the spirit. It's like, I'll cut you off, but just going back to the judges, that's the spirit Jake really should have been in then. Like not in that, oh, we just gonna let them dwell in the land. We just gonna let the Jebusites just, we just gonna dwell with them. Fuck that shit, man. Lord is a separatist. You know what I mean? When the time comes and the Lord comes back in these times, ain't gonna be no, ain't gonna be no making fucking,
deals with the heathen.
It's gonna be, you subject yourself, you bow the knee, or you pay the price.
And on top of that, if they're gonna bow the knee or pay the price, if they just want to pay the price, the price is you and your nation.
They don't have to bow the knee regardless. That's the point. That's the point. Every knee shall bow.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna be no, okay, we just don't feel like conquering y'all, so we gonna just chill. Ain't gonna be none of that.
That's what King David did. It says the Lord gonna rebuild the tabernacle of David. Or what did King David do? 2 Samuel 8.
Yep.
He fucked all even up. If you did, he basically had it separated. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna keep y'all alive. I'm gonna kill y'all. So all those examples that was being made, those heathens seen that. So it was like, we finna get in order. We ain't trying to get fucked up by him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they don't want to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? It's gonna happen regardless.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going on this. But this is Judges chapter 1 and verse 22. It says, "In the house of Joseph, they also went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. And the house of Joseph sent to descry Bethel." All right, let me look up this word "descry" real quick. Just the Google definition. It says, "Descry, catch sight of, to seek out." So basically, he sent out spies, basically, and the house of Joseph sent to descry. Let me see what this word is in the Hebrew. And we we taking our time, because this is how this how this how you get through this. This is how you study, man. You can't skim over stuff. Sometimes you gotta take your time, man. Man, I messed up my blue letter. It's not pulling up my
I got the word.
Con.
It says descry, Strong's 8446.
Mm-hmm.
That word is thawar.
Mm-hmm.
It says to seek, to search out, spy out, explore, seek out, explore, spies, to make a search.
Boom. Yep. And that's exactly what Caleb did. He was sent out by Moses, to spy out. So now the house of Joseph, and like we're reading, they're continuing to do so. They're spying out the land. All right. Verse 24, it says, "And the spies saw a man come forth out of the city, and they said unto him, Show us, we pray thee, the entrance into the city, and we will show thee mercy."
Oh, man. Now, we were just talking about how people are going to be delivered by helping out.
Yep.
So that shows you that, hey, this has been happening.
Mm-hmm.
Certain people got preserved simply by them, how they treated the prophets. If you treated the prophets well, the Lord saves certain people for that. Rahab comes to mind.
Yep.
You see, and it's actually a scripture that speaks on that. Says if you give them proper water, you have a chance of receiving the proper reward.
Yep.
So that's going to get ready to happen in these current times. Not everybody's going to be of the governing body, but it's going to be certain ones that help minister that make it.
Yep. I got a quick one just backing you up. Yeah. Romans 9:15. It says, "For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and will have compassion on whom I will have compassion." Like just backing you up. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, it goes back to what the Lord told Abraham too. blesses he who blessed thee, curses he who cursed thee. Roughly paraphrasing. That's a part of our inheritance. Judgment a lot of times is determined based off of how people deal with us. That's part of the blessing. Other heathen don't got that. Like we in your personal life, right? You may deal with a particular person or go through some shit, and you find out later they got fucked up, right? Fucked off. That's a token. That's low key a token that the Lord is with you. But I just want to make that point.
Oh yeah, even Alicia. Those kids, Alicia probably vexed, having a bad day. You know what I'm saying? It was rough, and he got some kids come and tell him, "You bald head."
Right.
Start talking shit. He straight up just saying curses on him. The Lord had Judge happen immediately.
Yep.
2 she-bears, I think it was like 42 of them. 2 she-bears killed 42 kids. That's a lot of them.
Yep. This is Judges 1:25. It says, and when he showed them the entrance into the city, they smote the city with the edge of the sword, but they let go the man and all his family.
Just them. That was it. So it goes with the scripture just read earlier. Lord have mercy on whom you have mercy, and compassion on whom you have compassion.
Yep.
You see, so in this situation, they did well towards the prophets. So Lord have mercy on them.
Yep.
But it's coming to now. All y'all going into captivity. It ain't gonna happen. Yep. But once that 1,000 years is over, hey man, we'll see how stuff works. But y'all heathen know y'all want to have that hard yoke on y'all no more. But Esau is gonna be done away with after that 1,000-year period.
Yep. That's beautiful, man. I'm gonna read verse 26.
Oh yeah.
It says, and the man who they spared, right? And the man went into the land of the Hittites and built a city and called the name thereof Luz, which is the name thereof unto this day. So the Lord, it shows you how when it comes to the heathen, we deal with heathen based off of how they deal with us. If you give us the inside scoop, right, and you down, you get out the way of the will of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, you bow the knee, guess what? Your family, they're gonna be preserved. And that's a righteous thing. And you'll see instances of that when you read, about our forefathers, when they dealt with heathen and the heathen dealt sincerely and honestly. Like Abraham, for example, when he bought the land for the burial of I believe his wife, right? The Lord, he dealt favorably, with that. I believe it was a Hamite, So it just shows you our forefathers always demonstrated a certain level of honor, okay, and justice, okay. Unlike Esau, all right. Esau just wants to fuck every goddamn body, fuck over everybody, man. You heard that word?
It's unjust. Oh yeah, I found it.
Come.
It says the word Luz right here. It had a little bit of something on there. It says Luz, Strong's 3869. That word is Lawise. It says almond tree, and it says the early name of Bethel, probably the name of the town in close proximity to the actual location of the altar and the pillar of Jacob. So it was like it says close to Jacob, close to Israel. So they basically that land kept that name. Yep. So they do, but ultimately, really, the memorial of it is what happened. The event that led to it being named that. They got preserved. They had mercy upon him.
Exactly. Yep. This is Judges 1:27. It says, neither did Manasseh drive out the inhabitants of Beth-shean and her towns, nor Taanach and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor and her towns, nor the inhabitants of IBM, her towns, nor inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns, but the Canaanites will dwell in that land.
They came with some nasty, nasty work. Yep. Those Canaanites came with all types of idols, all types of pagan worship. So when Jake didn't take him out the land, what did Jake end up doing? They'll get with the women and they'll start doing a lot of that paganism and doing all that stuff.
Right. Yep. I got a precept just backing that up. Right. Because when you read about particular, law, statutes, and commandments, I'm going to get this in Exodus 23. A lot of the laws that the Lord had Moses write down were based off of what those Hamites were doing in the land. Like specifically, like the Lord specifically did not want our people to start following after these nasty ass customs, man. But this is Exodus 23 and verse 23. It says, "For mine angel shall go before thee and bring thee in unto the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off." It says, and if I can add a point on that, the angel that this is speaking about is Yahweh Shah. And you can read about that in Joshua. I want to say in Joshua 5, when that angel presents itself before Joshua, and Joshua makes obeisance and takes the shoes off of his feet, right? That angel that presented itself to Joshua is the same angel that was, that was with Caleb. Because when Joshua passed the baton to Caleb, that was really symbolic of the Lord, being with Caleb. But it goes back to Moses, even back, you know what I'm saying? Because Moses passed it to Joshua, and then Joshua went ahead and passed it to Caleb. So, but the Lord was with those men. That's the point. But this is verse 24. It says, "Thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works, but thou shalt utterly overthrow them." So, right, what we're reading in Judges, that they were commanded to utterly overthrow those heathen. Like, they weren't supposed to just not do it. You know what I'm saying? Jake was in the spirit of chilling, basically. It says, "But thou shalt utterly overthrow them and quite break down their images." I just want to get that real quick.
Oh yeah, yes, because like when the Lord put us in the Holy Land, so the Lord wants us to conduct ourselves holy in His holy land. But you got all these heathen there. What do we end up doing? We'll end up learning some of their ways, getting familiar with them, what they got going on.
Yep.
But you got it. It was a piece that I was looking for, right?
Kind of. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, we'll come back.
This is Judges 1:28. It says, "And it came to pass when Israel was strong, that they put the Canaanites to tribute and did not utterly drive them out." Now, we just read, the Lord said to utterly overthrow them. All right, the Lord didn't say to get rich by putting them under tribute. You know what I'm saying? But that shows you Jake, bro. Jake is not going to get it. Jake got to learn the hard way. They got to learn the hard way. But I'll keep reading. I know you got something.
Yeah, I was gonna get that one with Saul real quick. That's literally exactly what Saul did with Amalek. Because basically, the Lord told him to basically get those Amalekites out of there. And what did he do? He left the king, and he took some of the riches.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see Amalek. Let me get it pulled up real fast.
Man, that's a beautiful point.
Let's see,
because you can't serve both. You can't serve like the Lord said. You can't serve, Yahweh Shema Shai and mammon and money.
I got you. This is 1 Samuel 15 verse 20 and 21. Yep, and it says, "And Saul said unto Samuel, Yea, I have obeyed the voice of Yahweh Shema Shai, and have gone the way which Yahweh Shema Shai sent me, and I have brought Agag the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the spoil, sheep and the oxen, and the chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto Yahweh Shema Shai, Tower in Gilgal." Right? But the Lord told him that I wanted to destroy everybody. I didn't want you to leave nobody behind.
Mm-hmm.
But he knew that he wanted to win over the people. So what did he do? He did his own thing.
Yep.
That's basically the exact thing that see it right there.
Yep. And the Lord ain't gonna leave no heathen in the land this time around. When the Lord really get down and this nuclear destruction get to going, and the chariots and the laser beams from the chariots, that land gonna be cleared out, man. It will be cleared out. All right, because that's our inheritance. All right. And then we're gonna be fruitful and multiply too. Because when we come off the chariots, we still gonna be able to have sex. Right? Isaiah 60, the 60th chapter goes into that. Isaiah 60 and 22. All right. So where are our kids and our kids, where they gonna be at, man? They're gonna be headquartered in that land, man. But anyways, let me keep going.
That's when that's gonna be fulfilled. All Israel shall be righteous. You see, because it's not gonna happen on this side. It's gonna happen once all the men that's of the elect get delivered, through the loins of those men that get delivered, everybody else gonna come back righteous. That's how it's gonna be fulfilled. Yep. People will hear that and be like, "See, everybody's gonna make it." So it's nah. You got to come back through reincarnation, be it through the men that be of the elect.
Exactly. I'm gonna get this just to back us up.
Oh yeah.
This is Isaiah 60 and 22. All right. And really, the whole chapter is good. I'll read the header of the chapter. It says a glorified Zion. And then when you read, like, start at verse 3, it talks about how the Gentiles are going to be basically coming to us. All right. For out of subjugation. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be bound the knee. Okay. Isaiah 60:22, it says, a little one. Actually, let me start with verse 21, because the brother made that point. It says that people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of mine hands, that I might be glorified.
That's a new covenant gonna be established. We need those new bodies to where you don't sin. And then guess what? At Deuteronomy 28, 1-15, that's gonna be how it's gonna be forever. It's not gonna ever be the other 15 all the way down to 68. It's gonna be straight just the 1-15 because we know how the new bodies where it's gonna be in us.
Verse 22, it says, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
Hell yeah, that's what's gonna happen. The Lord's gonna speed that process up. We're gonna bring back the whole nation. But it said a little one, so that means a little one shall become 1,000. So that means like one of the least of our people is gonna he's gonna bring back thousands. Then it says a strong one, basically a nation. Then it said basically the last thing was gonna be the governing body. It's gonna be a whole other level, man. We just gotta get there.
Our Lord will hasten it in his time. You know, so the Lord is gonna be, man. The kingdom's gonna be beautiful, man.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be beautiful. This is back in Judges chapter 1 and verse 29, and it says, neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites that dwell in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwell in Gezer among them. Neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, nor the inhabitants of Nahalal, but the Canaanites dwelt among them and became tributaries. Neither did Asher drive out the inhabitants of Akko, nor the inhabitants of Zidon, nor of Ahalab or Alab, nor of Achzib, nor of Helba, nor of Afik, nor of Rehob. But the Asherites dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, for they did not drive them out.
And that's where we went off. We keep reading Judges. That's where we went off, man. Learn not, what's that, Jeremiah the 10th chapter, learn not the way of the heathen. See, and that's what we were doing. We kept them amongst us. We learned their ways. We worship. That's when we got into Molech sacrifice. We got to worship Baal. They even read the Babylonian Empire. What do? We worship their idols. That building the dragon, so on and so forth, from being joined together with those heathen nations.
I got a quick one.
Oh yeah.
This is 2 Corinthians 6:14. It says, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness?
Y'all want the same direction. Imagine it's two. Imagine a new guy, two animals carrying something, and one of the animals going all the way over this way, going a complete wrong direction. That's super counterproductive.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So we're not supposed to be equally yoked together with somebody that's counterproductive where we're going. They ain't going the same direction as you. They're going to bring you the way they're going.
Yep. I'm going to keep going on this 2 Corinthians. There's some good stuff in here. It says, and what concord hath Mashiach with Belial, or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel?
An unbeliever. Somebody, they can't see the vision you're seeing. They can't, y'all aren't going to be on the same accord. What does scripture say? Can two walk together unless they be agreed?
Yep.
If y'all not agreed, then guess what? That person's not going to keep, he's not going to be forward in what you got going on. He's going forward what he has going on, which will hinder where you're going. Yep. We're trying to get to the kingdom.
And the Lord gave these heathen their inheritance. That's the thing too. Like people, when they hear this, niggas get offended and shit. Cause Jake want everybody else to be saved, but his goddamn self. You know what I'm saying? But the heathen too, when you read Genesis 10 and it breaks down Shem, Ham, and Japheth, it tells you the Lord gave the heathen their land. So the Lord is just. Not only did the Lord give y'all land, the Lord is giving y'all all this time. And what did y'all do? Y'all bowed the knee to Esau. Y'all bowed the knee to Esau. So y'all did what y'all had your opportunity to show, you know what I'm saying? To show what the fuck you was gonna do with what you got. You didn't do shit with it.
They did more witness.
Right.
You got the fucking Genghis Khan that time period. Right. What did they rule?
Right.
Yeah, Esau ruled multiple times. You had Ham at the beginning. Shit, most of those things that was ruled was Hamites.
Right.
The Egyptians, you had the Philistines. Those were more Hamite nations.
Mm-hmm.
Canaanites. Yep. They had their time to rule. They had their time to do their thing, and they blew it. Yep. They even had Elam during the Persians.
Yep.
So hey, these nations had time to rule, man.
Mm-hmm. So the Lord is just, man. Y'all just mad. Y'all are just mad that we finally gonna get what was promised to us, and that just shows how wicked you niggas are. You're fucking greedy, right? Let me see. Let me go back to that 2 Corinthians and we'll jump back. This is verse 16. It says, "And what agreement hath the temple of the Most High with idols? For ye are the temple of the living power. And God saith, I will dwell in them and walk in them and be their power, and they shall be my people." You know, and the thing about the temple is holy. The physical temple, right, that started with the tabernacle, and then, you know, ultimately turned into the temple that was built by, David and Solomon, really built by Solomon, but, you know, the blueprint was passed down from David. That was a holy thing. Heathen, and then that's Revelation 11, you know, where it goes into the quarter of the Gentiles. So if that was just a physical representation of what the Lord had planned for us, because the tabernacle of the Most High is with men. So if the heathen weren't allowed to go into the court of men, you know, go into the more intimate parts of the temple, what do you think is supposed to be the case for the land? Heathen ain't supposed to be in there like that, man. Fucking Hamites and shit, fucking doing weird tribal dances and shit and all type of bugged out shit. You know, they weren't supposed to be in there, man.
Well, look how the land is now. Right? They're not conducting themselves in a holy manner in the Lord's holy land. They got fucking Pink City. Mm-hmm. You know, they're bombs flying everywhere. Mm-hmm. So all types of wickedness going on. Well, that ain't how the holy land's supposed to be, right?
Yep. This is the point of verse 17.
Oh yeah.
It's like I stretched it out a little bit. It says, "Wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. And I will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty." And that's the point.
What say that? What scripture says that when it's talking about the new covenant, and y'all shall be my people, and I shall be your father. Mm-hmm. So when that new covenant gets established, guess what? This is going to apply. Mm-hmm. You see, it's not for the heathen nations. Even when you go into the old covenant, the Lord said, "I came and made this an amount for the Israelites."
Right.
When he told Moses to go back down, he said, "This is what I gave to you and to the children of Israel." Likewise, new covenant. Mm-hmm. Hebrews 8, mm-hmm. Jeremiah 31, Ezekiel 36 is all pertaining to Israel.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let me jump back.
Oh yeah.
In Judges 1, because really, let me just keep reading. Judges 1 and verse.
We was at 32, so I'm 33 now.
33. The water. It says, "Neither did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, nor the inhabitants of Bethanath, but he dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land. Nevertheless, the inhabitants of Bethshemeth and of Bethanath became tributaries unto them. And the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountain, for they would not suffer them to come down to the valley." All right, so the tribe of Dan wasn't even able to, to overcome the Amorites. You know what I'm saying? Showing you that this whole time period was just a shadow of things to come. This was never the whole pot. This was a small little sliver. You go to Sam's, right? You go to Sam's on a Saturday, or like Costco,
shit, yeah.
Right? They got the little sampling cup, right, with a toothpick in it, and you go, and you know what I'm saying? They might give you 1 or 2 if you lucky. You know what I'm saying? You get the little nibble. You like, damn, this is good. But then what do? You just keep walking through the store. You know what I'm saying? That's what this time period was through the Spirit. It was a sampler, and we're gonna get the whole thing here shortly when Yahushua conquers the planet Earth.
Shit, even with Solomon's rule, it was a sample. It was 40 years.
Yep.
We had 40 years just peace. It was a prelude to the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get the real deal when Yahushua makes that big return.
Mm-hmm. Verse 34, it says, "And the Amorites forced the children of Dan into the mountain, for they would not suffer them to come down to the valley. But the Amorites would dwell in Haras and Ajalon, and in Sha'abim. Yet the hand of Joseph prevailed so that they became tributaries. And the coast of the Amorites was from the going up of Akrabim, from the rock and upward. So hey, you know, that wasn't the end all be all. That was really just the very, very, very beginning. Let me get something real quick. Let me get Psalm 72. Because again, man, we're awaiting the fulfillment of the land. You know what I mean? We didn't get it then. All right, and we're still waiting on it. This is Psalm chapter 72 and verse 8. It says, he shall have dominion from sea to sea, and from river unto the ends of the earth. They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust. Okay, I'm going to jump down to verse 11. It says, yea, all kings shall fall down before him, all nations shall serve him. All right, and this is talking about Yahushua, and basically, you know, the kingdom of heaven being established on the earth. Ain't gonna be no, you know, we weren't able to drive out the fucking Amorites, man. It's gonna be complete and utter domination. All right, but did you have anything? That's
all I have. Hey, plainly said, man, when we do this conquest, it's gonna be the last conquest. We're gonna have to ever do this again.
Right.
You know, they got that video game to us. It's gonna be the last of these heathen trying to come against us, man.
Yep.
See, because we're gonna come in a state that's like they're gonna know that okay, there's no way we can beat them. And then after all that ass we're gonna get them for 1,000 years, they're gonna be like, yeah, we serving these dudes.
Yep.
And even from like what we're gonna be promoting the doctrine of life. So their life is gonna get better because of them actually keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Like you see how we're getting a taste of it right now, where brothers come to repentance. We're moving in the ways of the book. Our life is getting better. We're starting to move towards that life. So they're going to realize that through that 1,000 years, and they're going to appreciate the rulership that we put on.
Yep. Beautiful. Yep. Well, hey, Lord's willing, you know, that was edifying. I know I was edified through the Spirit. We'll get into chapter 2 next week, Lord willing. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kakudash. Double honors again to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. And shalom to the whole full.
Shalom.